Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video will be entitled Concealment, Pornography. Alright, hopefully that got your attention. Alright, so it's the story of Jose and Kitty Menendez's professional murder, their military executions. Now, Kitty is not her real name, right? Her real name is Mary Louise Andersen, and she was born October 14th, 1941, whereas Jose Menedez was born in Havana, Cuba, during the Batista regime, which is CIA controlled, 100% controlled by United States Army and Marines, and then during his 15th year, we had CIA controlled Fidel Castro and his control agent, Frank Fiorini, which you know as Sturgis, Frank Sturgis, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and he was ushered into power effectively January 1st, 1959. And Jose Menedez was 14 years old at that date. All right, so Jose Menedez continued on living in Havana from an upper middle class family. His father owned an accounting firm. His father was a professional athlete, as was his mother, and they were in a country club and they lived the high life under Batista, and perhaps things got a little bit altered after Fidel Castro opened up his offices at the Hilton Hotel in Havana. That's right, I said Hilton Hotel in Havana. It's where the Prime Minister opened his office, and then Fidel Castro proceeded to visit New York City twice. I said twice, during 1959, the year that he assumed the Prime Minister office for Cuba. And again, you know, he wasn't arrested. He stayed in a really nice hotel on his first trip, which was a tax filing deadline. April 15th, 1959 was the first official trip of Prime Minister Fidel Castro, you know, the evil dictator of the communists. Anyway, he did a trip there. He visited with Richard Milhouse Nixon for over 3 hours on a Sunday afternoon. He went to the Bronx. He watched a Yankee baseball game. He ate a hot dog. He spoke at the United Nations. He just had a real swell time. And like I said, he topped it off by meeting with Richard Milhouse Nixon, who was the vice president under the Dwight Eisenhower presidency. And then no longer than just 5 months later, he returned in September 1959, where now he stayed in Harlem because he was asked to provide a large cash deposit at the Midtown Manhattan Hotel. So he went up to Harlem and held court there, where he later met with Nikita Khrushchev on his last leg of his 12-day trip to the United States as a guest of Dwight Eisenhower. Fidel Castro meeting with Nikita Khrushchev, the Prime Minister of Soviet Union. Anyway, nobody got killed, nobody got hurt. Meanwhile, Jose Menedez is now 15 years old, and he's still back in Havana. He hasn't made, a move to get on a Navy ship or leave town or anything like that. He didn't get put onto some sort of a transportation airplane or ship until August 1960, when Jose Menedez was 16 years old. That was then that he was spirited away to the United States, where he ended up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and later moved into an attic bedroom at his cousin's home in Pennsylvania in another town. But I just think it's ironic that this is, of course, where Frank Sturgis is from, is Pennsylvania, right? So that's where they put Jose Menedez, because I'm just here to tell you that part of the Jose Menedez story, which is this poppycock ridiculous story that his two sons murdered him, which is false. Okay, I'm just here to tell you that's like the Charlie Manson did it. That's like the Lee Oswald, acting alone, killed John Kennedy. That's like Osama bin Laden in a cave with no Wi-Fi access in the heroin opium fields of Afghanistan. He did 9/11. That's like the 780 prisoners that Ron DeSantis was helping torment at Guantanamo Bay Detention Center. Like they had anything whatsoever to do with the 9/11 explosions of buildings on port facility property. No way. No way. But we know that Americans are stupid. They're dumber than a box of rocks, and they'll believe anything. They'll believe that a hippie with no job, no bank account, no driver's license, no car, no home can be a cult leader and murder people on military controlled properties that are surveilled 24/7 by CIA and military NATO forces. So if you believe that, then you've been MK Ultra punked. And that is the exact situation we have with the Jose and Kitty Menedez, not her real name. So her real name is Mary Louise Andersen, okay? And she was born in Chicago, Illinois, to an abusive, mean-spirited, non-nurturing father who owned an air conditioning company, which would be a good company to own in Chicago, right? Because of the high humidity and heat in the summertime. So anyway, Mary Louise Andersen had an unhappy childhood. And she went off to University of Illinois, Carbondale, as soon as possible. And whereupon she immediately met Jose Menedez, who had magically received an athletic scholarship at age 18, even though he really wasn't very involved with sports. He was mostly washing dishes and doing menial jobs, which of course he resented because he came from an upper middle class family in Havana. So it appears that Jose Menedez at age 16 and 17 was subjected to some prisoner dilemma game abuse, where he had to work in the kitchen and do menial tasks before he was rewarded with a free 4-year scholarship to the University of Illinois, where he met the older, more sophisticated Mary Louise Andersen, who is approximately 2.5 years older than Jose. Jose was born May 6th, 1944. His soon-to-be fiancée was born 2.5 years earlier on October 14th, 1941. Her name is Mary Louise Andersen. Everybody called her Kitty. And they asked permission from her parents to get married. That doesn't go over well. Kitty's father's not for it. He doesn't like Cubans. And he also doesn't like that he's younger, and not sure about his track record, right? Except that he doesn't know that Jose Menedez is CIA endorsed, and his career is getting ready to blast off, okay? Because Jose Menedez was selected in much the same way that Jeffrey Bezos Jorgensen's career was selected, like Bill Gates's career, Harvard dropout, was selected, like Larry Ellison, University of Illinois dropout, was selected, like Jim Jones's career, University of Indiana, was selected, like Emily and Bill Harris's career at Indiana University it was selected for the SLA, Symbionese Liberation Army, and Patricia Hearst kidnapping. They were selected in Indianapolis, Indiana. The way that Gus Grisham was selected at Purdue University, which shares the campus with University of Indiana, like he was selected for the Apollo program, Apollo 1, where he was murdered. Where Neil Armstrong, the man who allegedly first man walking on the moon, again went to Purdue University, where Gus Grisham went, except instead of getting killed, he became a national hero who never wanted to deliver public speeches. He ran from the cameras and would not swear on the Bible that he walked on the moon. So it appears that Indianapolis, Indiana is a recruiting center for CIA. And it appears that so is University of Illinois, Carbondale. And it appears that Queens College in New York is as well, because guess what? Jose was so cavalier about his free college that he eloped as soon as his fiancée, Mary Louise Andersen, graduated, because she did finish her 4 years. Jose did not. He dropped out, and they went to the Queens, New York, where, again, Jose had to work hard and attend Queens College to get his accounting degree. Then he passed a CPA exam in the state of New York, And then he lands a job magically with Coopers and Lieberman, international CPA firm, which I'm just here to tell you that's a hat trick, okay? And they pay him $25,000 a year in 1968. And I am here to tell you that that is double the starting salary for a staff accountant with zero experience. Now, he passed the CPA exam, so that's a thumbs up, should get like a little extra for that, but he has no experience. But nevertheless, he's getting paid what a manager would get paid at Coopers and Lieberman. I hope you understand that there's a whole military pecking order at international CPA firms. I know, I worked at one. They have partners, they have managers, they have supervisors, they have advanced senior accountants, they have seniors, they have advanced staff, they have interns. There's a whole military structure. And essentially what I'm telling you, the compensation that Jose Menedez was rewarded with took him from the beginner class and catapulted him up to manager class. He's like a junior manager, and he has no experience whatsoever. I mean, he leapfrogged over literally hundreds of people in the New York office. So what I'm telling you is that Jose was definitely plugged in and was now receiving financial rewards for being a good soldier and washing those dishes and getting married to Mary Louise Andersen, known as Kitty. And even though she's older, and then they had Lyle Menedez in 1968, Lyle, his eldest son. Then they moved to New Jersey, got familiar with one of the suburban areas near Princeton University, where Lyle Menedez would attend Princeton University. A lot of people don't know that. The media hasn't done a really good story reporting that Lyle was attending Princeton and never once attended high school in California. Never. He didn't go to Beverly Hills High School. He didn't go to Calabasas High School. He didn't go to any high schools in California. He went to high school in New Jersey, and he went to Princeton University, okay? Like Sean Stone did, the son of Oliver Silverstein. He went to Princeton, okay? Oliver Silverstein Stone went to Yale twice. Yale. All right, so the concealment here is what you are not told, right? So you're not told that Jose Menedez escaped communist Cuba 2 years into the Fidel Castro, when Fidel Castro was home. You know, he wasn't away and not looking. I mean, he was right there. And the only way you can get on and off of Cuba is with the United States Navy and Marines permission, right? So obviously, Jose Menedez was spirited off of Cuba under CIA endorsed approval. And like I said, he gets free education, and he ends up getting a CPA license, and he goes immediately to one of the top CPA firms in the world. Back then it was 8. It was the big 8. And there's Jose Menedez, who just learned to speak English, and there he is at a top CPA firm, international. And it's there that he's introduced to Hertz Rent-A-Car, and it's there who's a client of Coopers and Lieberman's, and there he's also introduced to Lyons Container Corporation in Cicero, Illinois, outside of Chicago. And he's sent there to do audit work for Lyons Container, which, if you don't know, that's port facility intermodal transportation. Containers. Containers go on barges, they go on rail systems, they go on trucks, on interstate highways, they go on the container ships to and from import-export. That's 100% CIA-controlled business. So in other words, Lyons Container Corporation is a clandestine, supervised, infiltrated company. And they make Jose an offer he can't refuse. They hire him as their controller. So he resigns from Coopers and Lieberman CPA firm early. He goes to work to be the controller of Lyons Container. Now this seemingly looks okay with Kitty Menedez because her family, or her brother, are from Chicago. So Cicero is a suburb of Chicago, so it made sense we're returning home to Kitty's home. It's just that Kitty didn't have a happy childhood there, and she was used to being bossed around by a domineering older man. All right, so in this case, she has a younger man, Jose, except he's domineering as well. In fact, he's beyond domineering. He's controlling. He's highly controlling. And he uses prisoner dilemma game techniques, humiliation, and verbal abuse, raising his voice, keeping his voice soft, temper tantrums, raising his voice and throwing hissy fits. That's Jose Menedez as a young man, and that's Jose Menedez as a father and husband. So it's important to get this background information so that you understand that Jose then, amazingly, within a year, is offered the chief executive officer presidency for Lion Container, which is completely inappropriate. He's only like 24 years old. He's not experienced. He doesn't really know the intermodal transportation industry. He hasn't been in it that long. And yet they're offering him the presidency of this company. And he accepts. And then that goes on for a year and a half, and he gets into an argument with the board, which who knows if that's true. But it's decided to, no problem, no harm, no foul. We'll just reposition Jose Menedez from Chicago, Illinois, Cicero, where Paul Marcinkus is from, where Jack Ruby is from, Jacob Rubinstein is from Cicero, Al Capone is from Cicero. In other words, Cicero is a, mob city. And when I say mob, you should hear CIA city, because that's how we conceal the CIA. We call them the five crime families of New York. We call them the Colombo crime family, the Genovese crime family, right? We call them the Bananas. We call them everything except what they are, which is they have a CIA bank or else they can't exist. The Hells Angels can't exist. The Black Panthers can't exist. The Church of Synanon, the People's Temple, Jim Jones, none of those operations can exist without CIA banking, right? So essentially all those fake religions and all those fake organizations that I mentioned could not exist unless they were bank, CIA controlled and endorsed. There would be no mafia without the CIA. So let's forget about the sacred oaths that the mafia takes. Just forget it, because they are not allowed to assassinate anybody unless a bank officer approves it, or else there's consequences. All right, so Jose is repositioned to be the chief financial officer of Hertz Rent-A-Car. All right, and that takes them back to New Jersey. Now that's a huge job. That's a big job. And it has some similarities with the intermodal transportation companies in that it's bank flooring financed and that it's GPS tracking equipment. In other words, the containers should be known where their whereabouts is 24/7. And that's true with your Hertz Rent-A-Car. The only exceptions is if it's a CI murder, like Erin Valente, and she's in a car with a minimum of 5 transponders and a navigation system, and for some reason the rent-a-car company and the San Jose Police Department cannot locate that car ever until a dog walker finds it 5 days after it goes missing. 5 days after it was to be returned to the San Jose Airport car rental agency. They don't know where that car is. And the car is 15 miles away from the agency where it was to be dropped off. So I'm calling poppycock on the GPS tracking. In other words, they can find you if they want, and then they can not find you if they don't want. So getting back to Jose and Kitty Menedez, they're back in New Jersey in close proximity to Princeton University, which is where, Jose is targeting his Lyle, his eldest son, to go to school and perhaps get into one of those 11 eatery clubs, right? And he's the chief financial officer of Hertz Rent-A-Car, which is then purchased by RCA, Radio Corporation of America. Those are the people that bring you the ringing in your ears, the 5G, the chemtrails that are, self-assembly clouds into fake cumulus clouds in the sky, all on the Marconi system, which RCA purchased the Marconi Corporation, and are used radio frequency to communicate and to make cloud formations or to use indirect or direct weapon systems, along with Raytheon missile guidance and the Nokia Bell Labs and a whole boatload of other contractors for the military. Because you do know that RCA is a military corporation. And they're in the entertainment business because, they signed Elvis Presley, did they not? RCA Victor, right? So even though they're in the radio frequency business, which is like the internet, it's like owning the internet, Then they put entertainment out over that network using the radio frequency. But they can use it as a weapon, or they can use it to play music, or to deliver War of the Worlds, with Orson Welles and John Houseman. That was a CBS produced psych ops in 1938. But you see, the military uses entertainment, just like this podcast is being broadcast over the internet, as a honeypot operation to see who'd be interested in my videos, right? And that maybe that's the resistance movement, right? Right, of course it is, because you see over at YouTube, they will not tolerate this kind of thing. So you have what's called controlled opposition. I'm being manipulated into controlled opposition. Don't think I don't know that. I am keenly aware of it. But I have to get this message out to as many people as possible, and that they need to get that message out to as many people that they know as possible. Because the story of Jose Menedez is the story of COVID. It is the story of it's a story of pacification and control, even over a tyrant like Jose. They put him down at age 45. All right, so what I wanted to tell you is that it's through the purchase of Hertz Rent-A-Car by RCA that Jose, as the chief financial officer, has to report to RCA chief operating officer. And of course, this doesn't go over too well. Jose's not comfortable with the new boss. So it's kind of decided that maybe they take him away from the CFO job and give him the entertainment operating officer position, a chief operating officer position, and send him out to Hollywood to work in the music and pornography business. Because in case you didn't know, Hollywood is in the pornography business. And one of the things when you study the Jose and Kitty Menendez murder is they don't go anywhere near pornography. They don't go anywhere near RCA. They don't go anywhere near CBS, Columbia Pictures. They don't go near Warner Communications, which was purchased eventually by Time. Lifetime Life bought Warner Communications. They don't go anywhere near that. They don't ever bring up Peter Hoffman's name. He went to the Yale Law School. They don't bring up Roger R. Smith. They don't bring up his name. He went to Harvard, and he's a chief financial officer for Live Entertainment, hired by Peter Hoffman, who's Jewish, okay, and went on to be the executive vice president at Paramount Pictures after his time at Carolco Pictures. Carolco is a name of a CIA Panamanian company rebranded as a pornography company in San Fernando Valley, and specifically in Newbury Park, Woodland Hills, Canoga Park, and Van Nuys, and West Hollywood. Those are the 5 principal cities where Carolco Pictures had offices. And Jose Menedez primarily worked in the Canoga Park office with Noel C. Bloom, and he worked at the Newbury Park office. And that's why he lived in Calabasas, because Calabasas is very close to both of those places. Beverly Hills is not. Beverly Hills is 25 minutes the wrong direction, times 2, because if you commute to work, then you got to commute home. So you're looking at a 50-minute to 1-hour commute, depending on when you commute. So anyway, Jose Menedez goes from Coopers and Lieberman to Lyons Container Company, which is CIA controlled, to Hertz Rent-A-Car, which GPS tracks all its vehicles. He then goes to Radio Corporation America, RCA, and is put into Hollywood Entertainment for music and porn. And this is how he becomes acquainted with the executives that are in music and porn. And they're typically the same people. It's the same people that produce music also can produce porn, because it's the same thing. It's pacification and control, social engineered content. What's the difference? And the answer is there's no difference between porn and soft porn and hardcore porn and The Wizard of Oz starring Judy Garland. There's not a scintilla of difference. It's just the targeting of the audience. That's it. It's who are you targeting? But Hollywood produces every type of child entertainment, every type of adult entertainment, and everything in between, including so-called family entertainment. And this is where Jose Menedez from Havana, Cuba, ended up is in the social engineering content pornography business. Now, it was then decided after 6 years of working at RCA, where his salary was $500,000 a year plus $100,000 bonus. So he's used to making $50,000 a month. That was his normal salary back in 1980, 1981, 1982. That's a lot of money because I had CIA former military United States military officers who were transferred over into U.S. corporations who were making $375,000 to $400,000 a year, and I thought that was jaw-dropping. But you remember, Jose Menedez is making like 50% more than colonels in the United States Army, Black Ops, who are now officers in corporations. They're underpaid compared to Jose Menedez. So what I'm telling you is pornography is a much higher priority than selling insurance or working at a bank, okay? Pornography is more important, and the compensation model is much bigger. And that is why Jose and his huge, ginormous ego followed that path, followed the yellow brick road. Yeah, didn't end well for Jose, but that's the path he went on. His wife is a complete basket case. She's drinking on a daily basis. She's drinking cognac, and she's on prescription drugs. She's depressed. She's angry. She discovers that Jose is having affairs whenever he stays overnight in another town, which once he gets to work for RCA, he's out of town all the time. So he's having lots of affairs. She's aware of it. She's angry. She's drinking. She even flew to New York City and confronted one of his mistresses, Louise. That's another story for another time. She's seeing psychologists because Jose wants to keep her busy and under control, which is classic CIA, enter the psychologist, psychotherapist. So essentially, Kitty Menedez is seeing a psychiatrist minimum of once a week. And that's true when she's in New Jersey, and when they immediately move out to Hollywood in the fall of 1986, she immediately sees a psychologist in Hollywood, and I'll give you his name. The first psychologist she saw in Hollywood was Edwin S. Cox, spelled C-O-X, right? And he has a Bachelor of Arts, a Master's of Science, and a PhD in family psychology. And he has 16 sessions with Kitty. And one solo session with Jose privately, and then they have 3 joint sessions as husband and wife, because there's problems galore when Jose moves out to California. This is when he takes the job at Carolco Pictures, working for Mario Kassar, a Lebanese gentleman, and Andrew Vajna, whose real name is Andres Weidman, a Jewish man from Istanbul, Turkey. He's working for them under the guise of Carolco Pictures, who's hired a CEO now named Peter Hoffman, who's Jewish, and he is the one who hired, Mario Kassar, Andrew Vajna, and Peter Hoffman hired Jose Menedez. And they agreed to match his salary at RCA, which is $50,000 a month, but sweeten the pot by giving him a potential for $500,000 bonus, which would almost double his salary to $1.1 million for 1987, 88, and 89. They gave him a 3-year contract, okay? And which was renewed halfway through his term, by the way. They also agreed to pay for a $5 million life insurance for Jose Menedez's family. They required him to have a $15 million life insurance on their company, and the beneficiary would be Bankers Trust Company in New York, BTC. That's a CIA bank. They typically always borrowed $75 million from that CIA bank. So, in other words, if anything happened to Jose Menedez, Mario Kassar and Andra Vajka would receive a $15 million tax-free increase in their net worth. Their stock would be worth $7.5 million tax-free more money. Anyway, Jose never did the physical exam for his family, so the $5 million policy, which would have been paid by Carolco Pictures, was never issued because Jose never went and agreed to do the paramedical exam. He was required to do a paramedical exam for Bankers Trust Company, which he did, and the $15 million life insurance was issued. So when you think you've heard any stories about that the kids murdered him for the life insurance, complete poppycock. That's completely untrue. The only people that had $15 million life insurance on Jose Menedez was his employer, in the form of concealing it by giving it to the bank, who they owed $75 million to. But if you don't have to pay back $15 million of debt that you owe, that inures to your own benefit. That increases your... It's like paying you the money directly, right? I mean, when you collapse your company and you wind it up, you've got $15 million less bills to pay. Hence, you have $15 million more money in the checking account. See, it's just money laundering. It's money laundering. It's concealment of the sources and uses of money. But I want to emphasize that I think Jose did have a $400,000 life insurance policy on his estate, his trust, and then that would give $200,000 to Lyle and $200,000 to the just turned 18 Eric, who went to Calabasas High School for 3 years. He went to Calabasas High School in 1997, 1988, and 1989, where he graduated. He did not graduate from Beverly Hills High School. There's no proof of that anywhere. That's a poppycock story. Doesn't make sense, because Jose Menedez and Kitty lived in Calabasas for 2.5 years. They lived up there all the way up through the graduation of Eric from Calabasas High School before they moved into that CIA home at 722 North Elm Drive in Beverly Hills, where Michael Jackson lived, where Elton John lived, where Prince may have lived. And they had crappy furniture in there, and that is where they were murdered. And they were probably there 45 days to 60 days maximum before they were killed in that house. Whereupon, once it's cleaned up, they move Columbo creator William Link, CIA-controlled William Link, who's also producing Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury. They move him in there. So that tells you that William Link, the creator of Columbo, wasn't in control of his life, was he? Would you want to live in a double homicide murder scene? Would you want to be Jeffrey Franklin and move on to the Sharon Tate murder scene? Would you want to live in the Superman George Reeves murder house on Benedict Canyon Drive? Would you want to live in the home where Jean Harlow's husband blew his brains out wearing her perfume at 9820 Easton Drive, which was assigned to Jay Sebring, Tom Coomer? Would you want to live there? I wouldn't. And yet people do. They're required to. It's part of the cult pacification and control messaging system. The names that you never heard about, of course, is Peter Hoffman, who was the CEO of Carolco Pictures, working directly for Mario Casar and Andres Vajna, who are the stockholders of that company, which I'm telling you is a CIA money laundering pornography company that also produces Rambo II. So Sylvester Stallone sits on the board of directors of Carolco, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is a producer, actor who participates with Terminator 2. Oliver Silverstein Stone has his film The Doors produced there. He has he knows all these people I'm mentioning their names. He knows Roger Smith, who's the chief financial officer for Live Entertainment, who only worked there for 2 years and was recommended by Peter Hoffman to be the CFO babysitter for Jose Menedez. You should know that Jose Menedez is rolling into the office at 9:30 to 10 o'clock every morning, and he's gone by 5 o'clock, and he takes lunch. So Jose Menedez is only working 6.5 hours a day. All right? And nobody likes Jose Menedez. He humiliates employees. He's a real jerk. And he doesn't get along with Peter Hoffman. He doesn't get along with his chief financial officer, Roger R. Smith. He doesn't get along with Noel Bloom, who is the producer of 100% of all the pornography, falls under Noel Bloom, who's inherited the business from his father, Bernie Bloom. Noel C. Bloom, he's Jewish, and he owns Caballero Home Video. He owns International Video Entertainment. He owns Home home video entertainment, and Carolco Pictures paid him a boatload of money for his pornography division, which is Caballero Home Video, and he had to report to Jose Menedez, and they hated each other. So anyway, there were layoffs. Jose Menedez laid off like at least 300 employees that were left over from CBS Manson International in the Woodland Hills office. He closed that office, leaving the Newbury Park and Canoga Park offices open, and they opened a Van Nuys office once they merged with Lieberman Enterprises, which is a Jewish-owned company of David J. Lieberman, who has a PhD psychotherapist. He's written 11 books, and he provides financing for live entertainment and Carolco Pictures, as does Credit Lyonnais in Paris, France, as does Bankers Trust Company in New York, and now enter the picture in February 1988, Lieberman Enterprises. And you know that Jose Menedez is dead as a doornail within 18 months of that merger with Lieberman Enterprises. You see, he's alienated his chief financial officer. He's alienated his boss, Peter Hoffman. Okay? He's pissed off most of the employees. He's only working 6 hours a day. He blew off his family's life insurance. He's completely narcissistic. He's having affairs. He's unhappy with his job. The rumor is that he hates pornography, but that's the number one way they make money. They don't make as much money on Terminator 2 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, or Rambo 2, or Michael Douglas's movie that he did with Sharon Stone. You know, that was produced by Carolco Pictures. You know, I forgot what that was. But anyway, they've made all these films, Angel Heart, you know, and Mickey Rourke, and Nick Nolte, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Sylvester Stallone, and Michael Douglas, and many other people, Oliver Stone, and The Doors. And my point is that all conceals that they make most of their money on pornography in San Fernando Valley. And that's why those offices are there, and that's why Jose Menedez was building a 9,000 square foot custom home in Hidden Hills where Lori Loftman lives, and her ex-husband, her first husband, ended up purchasing most of the Noel Bloom companies except for Caballero Home Video. He buys up and merges into Lionsgate, Artisan Pictures, etc. Anyway, I hope you're following this, but I want you to know that Jose Menedez's secretary was Jewish, and she controlled his schedule, right? And her name is Marcy Eisenberg. Very important. So you got Noam Bloom produces the pornography. He's Jewish. Jose Menedez's secretary, Marcy Eisenberg, she's Jewish. His direct supervisor boss is Peter Hoffman. He's Jewish. The two owners of his company that have the $15 million life insurance, they're both Jewish. That's 5. His required monthly meetings in Minnesota with David J. Lieberman, he's Jewish, that's 6. So you have a situation where Jose Menedez has to report to Jewish controllers, including his own secretary. Anyway, so we get out to August 20th, 1989, and 13 shotgun blasts with 2 different shotguns, which were never found. There are no murder weapons, and you should know that the Beverly Hills Police Department and the Los Angeles detectives never suspected Lyle and Eric Menendez of murder. They had an alibi. The alibi checked out. They had no financial motive. There were $6 million worth of stock grants, which were canceled as a result of Jose Menedez's murder. So you're talking about a $21 million land fall to Carolco Pictures as a result of the murder of Jose Menedez. And the brothers, the 2 sons, they're not arrested for 7 months. And only because Jerome Oziel, a psychologist, is having an affair with his patient, Judith Smythe, and she goes to the Beverly Hills Police Department and says, hearsay, that her lover, who's married, Jerome Oziel, who lives in Encino, said that Eric said that he killed his parents. It's like fourth hand, right? Anyway, there's no forensic evidence that ties the kids. There's no witness. There's no financial motive. There's a huge financial motive for Carolco Pictures to get rid of Jose Menedez and also send a message to any other upstarts that don't want to obey their Jewish handlers, right? Because Jose was completely and utterly managed by Jewish people at RCA, at Carolco Pictures, with his financing, the finance people he had to report to. He also, I forgot to mention, he blew off a meeting in Holland and Rotterdam and Amsterdam, Holland, the Netherlands. He did not show. Now, he had a cause for that. He checked into the Beverly Hills Medical Center with a angina heart anomaly on January 22nd, 1989. That was the year that he was murdered. And so his excuse was, I couldn't go to that banking meeting with Credit Leone in the Netherlands because I was in the hospital having heart treatments. But it was one of those things where you just do bed rest and they send you home. There's no real intervention. There's no stents installed. All right, so I just want you to know that the people running these companies went to Yale Law School, they went to Harvard, and that's who the presidents and the CFOs are. And that the owners came from Lebanon and Istanbul, Turkey, and they're Jewish. All right, that's the Jose Menedez story that's been concealed. It's a story of pornography, and it was lights out for Jose Menedez. Nightmare on Elm Street, except it's 722 North Elm Drive. I strongly urge that you never, ever spend an overnight at that resident location. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.